Mike. On to the approval of the minutes, June 26th regular session. Need a vote? Any comments? Need a motion first. Thanks, Bob. Thanks, Jeff. Anybody find anything, questions or concerns? Okay. All in favor? Oh, huh? You good? Oh, sorry, Jeff. And also, before we go to vote, Director Collins not here, and Deborah has her proxy. So, okay, on to the vote or for June 26th. All in favor? Yep. On to July 17th, our work session. Motion, please.
So moved.
Thank you, JB. Thank you, Sandy. Anything on those notes? Nope. All in favor? Thank you. And clipping along, Joint Advisory Committee. Tom, you have Rex and Lakes, right?
Rec did not turn theirs in, so we'll pass that, but
Okay.
Once the minutes will be posted to the website. We do have Lakes here. The committee welcomed new committee members, Brett Araby and Steve Killian. I conducted a committee orientation. Jeff Rattay was appointed secretary, Kevin Adelson was appointed vice chair, and Matt Champagne was appointed chair. The committee briefly discussed the upcoming CARP tournament to take place on Saturday, October 11th. The committee began discussions on capital project recommendations for 2026. And Lake Norwood and Lake Ann received some fertilization treatment recently, and that is the extent of the summary.
Thanks, Tom. Ms. Bruce, golf?
Okay, Golf Committee met on Wednesday, July 9th, and we welcomed a new committee member, John Hauser, to the group. And new officers were for next year. They happen to be very similar. Ruth Asher's chair, Dave Armstrong vice chair, but Jim Estes is secretary. We did some brainstorming for consideration for budget items, and it was strictly brainstorming, and we'll talk in depth about it during our August meeting. Daryl Muldoon presented the golf aspects of the grounds, and the rounds ended at 23,309, down 3,086 over last June. Member rounds are up, however, 13,974, up over 961 over last June, and guest rounds were ended down about 1,125. Year to date, 87,823, even after all the rain and then this small little hot spell we're having right now. Down from 8,857 over last year. Member rounds ended at 56,680 or 628. Down 4,575 over last year, and guest rounds ended 31,195, down 4,283. Range buckets ended the month at 29,796, up 6,444 over last year. It's a lot of rounds. Graham Kornmeyer had the maintenance report. Staff and golfer etiquette was brought to his attention and concerns while trying to maintain pace of play. For staff members who are hand watering the greens, they have the right of way and should be allowed to finish their task to clear from the area before you're hitting. For people mowing and doing other tasks around the golf course, golfers should make their presence known by either before they hit their shot to allow the staff member to get out of the way. Often staff members move to an area that is out of reach, and they hope that they stay out of safe danger. The frequent rains continue. We had 10.5 inches of rain in June, bringing the yearly total to 37.5 inches. No major flooding issues this year, but the heat and humidity is beginning to pile up. The turf on all courses continue to improve with all the inputs and cultural practices that we're doing. The tees and the collar aeration events have been very successful. We will be completing this practice one more time this summer in early August on all courses. Tanya Creek. Flagstone walkways were installed behind the upper driving range. Tee mats and concrete pads, and the walkways were the building to the chipping green. Highland Soysa project. We finally seen some nice progress in the summer heat. The grass is maturing, and we are seeing good lateral movement with the grass beginning to creep around the course. We're confident the opening will be in good shape by late to end, or therefore about the end of August. Greg is also able to mow the fairways regularly now, and he continued to spray fertilizer to make the grass grow as fast as it possibly can. We will evaluate the fairway coverage in late July to determine just exactly when it might open. Tom gave his orientation on new members or returning members, and the next meeting will be August 13th at 4 p.m. Questions, comments?
One thing I gotta say is the maintenance people sit in the middle of fairway when I'm swinging, they're in good shape. To the right, no bueno. That's right.
I just want to say thank you, Ruth. You always show up, you're always here, you work so hard for this community, and I hope all of our members appreciate that. Thank you.
Call up. Thank you, Ruth. Beth, you ready?
Good evening. We're here to look over the financial review for June. As always, the presentation and the financials can be found on the website. It's turned on. Yeah. Thank you, Chris. Starting with the consolidated financials for the month of June, revenues coming in at $3,855,000, which is less than budgeted and but more than prior year. Expenses $2,695,000, which is less than budgeted, more than prior years, resulting in EBITDA of $597,000, which is a little over $100,000 less than budgeted and slightly less than prior year. Year-to-date consolidated financials, the revenue is coming at $20,635,000, which is more than budget and prior year. Expenses of $16,116,000, more than budget and prior year, with EBITDA year-to-date of $1,609,000, which is a couple $100,000 less than budgeted, and quite a bit less than prior year. Looking at POA only, year-to-date, the revenue is $14,231,000, which is $487,000 less than budgeted. This has been a year of adverse weather between winter and rain, and that is what is driving that revenue being less than budget. It is still $154,000 better than the prior year. Cost of goods sold is $76,000 better than budget and worse than prior year. Expenses are $21,000 better than budget, worse than prior year, and EBITDA is $387,000 less than budget. That revenue drops right down to the bottom line. Overall, for the month of June, POA revenue is $2,736,000 compared to budget of $2,933,000. It's slightly less than prior year. Notable for June, we sold a mower that wasn't budgeted and got set $22,000. Golf fees were $60,000 worse than budget, not only due to adverse weather, but with the Highlands Golf Course closing, we are prioritizing tee times with members versus guests, over guests, not versus, but prioritizing members over guests, and guests pay more than members. So the revenue is less than budgeted for that reason. It's $241,000 year-to-date. Membership transfer fees is $38,000 worse than budget for the month, but it only $7,000 worse year-to-date. And F&B income is $37,000 worse than budget for the month and $174,000 worse year-to-date. Looking at operating expenses for June, POA expenses were $48,000 worse than budget overall, but they're still $21,000 better year-to-date. Better than budget in June was health, dental, and life. We received some large reimbursements of past claims, so we were $76,000 better in June. We're still behind year-to-date on that. Outside contracts was $11,000 better in June. Salaries and wages were $48,000 worse than June. That can be partially offset by the outside contracts. Year-to-date, they're still $44,000 better. And chemicals were 24,000 worse in June. Year-to-date, we're still better. Maintenance and repair irrigation pump station was 20,000 worse in June, but only 6,000 worse year-to-date. And licenses and permits were 16,000 worse in June and pretty much right on year-to-date. So it's mid-year. It's time to see who is swimming at a faster rate to reach their budgeted 2025 revenue. So we have recreation in pink, golf in green, F&B in gold, water in purple. Who's going to win? No surprise. Water comes in first with 51% of the 2025 budgeted income. Recreation's coming in next with 49%, golf 46%, and F&B trailing at 45%. Looking at just some usage numbers, starting with recreation, since the pools opened at the very end of May. This is just for June only, comparing June 25 to June 24. You can see that the outdoor pools, Kingsdale, Metfield, and the beach were all affected by the rainy weather, and the usage is down from this time last year. Branchwood Pool was more. It's an indoor pool, so it wasn't affected. Overall, their usage has decreased by 25% in June compared to June last year. And looking at the fitness center exercise classes, that's a by month. The 24 usage is in gold, the 25 usage is in green. So you can see that we've beat it pretty much every month except June. It was kind of right on there. Overall, they've increased 8% compared to Q2 of 24. And then looking at the same thing with golf, again, golf has been impacted by weather much of the year and also the temporary closure of the Highlands course. So you'll see members rounds on the left, 24 rounds are in gold, 25 rounds are in green. So in members rounds, the winter weather, January, February, but then starting March, the members rounds have been more than 24 every month. But then if you look over at the guest golf rounds, it's mostly consistently less than 24 throughout the year. It's went down 12% compared to 2024 on guest rounds. Again, weather and prioritizing members. So moving from POA to the water, the revenue year-to-date is $6,404,000, which is $510,000 better than budget, $781,000 better than prior year. Cost of sales is more, understandably with revenue more. Expenses are $234,000 worse than budget and more than prior year, with EBITDA coming in at $176,000 better than budget and $289,000 better than prior year. Looking at water revenue for just the month of June, comes in at $1,119,000. Capital buy-in fees and new service connections were better for the month and about $468,000 better year-to-date. Water sales was actually $74,000 worse in June. With all the rainy weather, there was less irrigation than what was budgeted, but year-to-date, it's only $10,000 worse. Looking at water's operating expenses for the month of June, better than budget was meter installation materials of $92,000 better. Still $121,000 worse year to date, but that's a timing issue that's just going to work out a little bit every month. Water distribution equipment was $34,000 worse than budget, but it's better year to date. Overall, the expenses for water are $416,000, which was less than budgeted and just slightly more than last year. Looking at cash, we have total cash of $7,662,000 with POA operating cash of $933,000, POA reserves of $849,000, water operating cash of $4.3 million, and water reserves of $1,585,000. And brings us to the one pager. The department's EBITDA compared to budget year to date is on the left. The ones doing the best are golf maintenance, water, maintenance and construction, lakes and parks. Worse than budget is general income, golf operations, food and beverage, clubhouses, and outside rec. We went over most of those others. There have not been any more increases in debt. We're just paying down principal. So we owe the water, POA owes the water $3.1 million and the bank $5.8. You have any questions? All right.
Thank you, Beth.
One additional interesting item, we project by the end of August, we will hit 17,000 water meters in the community. We continue to grow.
Yes, sir, we do. Open forum, we don't have any emails, right, Jessica? Did you, our audience member, did you want to speak on anything? Are you good?
Well, more than anything, I was just interested in how this worked.
Jump up to the mic, please, if you don't mind. Yeah, you're center stage.
All right. My name is John Huffman. I've lived here in Bella Vista for 14 years, been a property owner for about 10. I've just always kind of wondered how everything worked. At one point in time, I would get out and go to some of the local places and hear the residents bitch and complain about you guys, and I don't go out and about anymore. I just don't care. But I do get curious from time to time. So just to, I guess for me to kind of figure out what all these naysayers, what they're missing out on, why the extra $5? I mean, I don't know, and I'm not a spokesperson for anybody. This is just me. Just curious about that. I hate social media, but it's hard to stay off of it sometimes, and then somebody will say this and that and that. And I guess everybody thinks y'all are just a bunch of villains or something. I don't know. Just everybody always complains about it. I thought, well, y'all can't be right. So let me just go to a meeting and find out what the heck's actually going on just for myself. So I don't know, man. Y'all just, I guess, why the extra $5? Be a good question there.
Yeah,
All
thanks. Thank you for talking. Tom, you want to take that?
First of all, really pleased that you came. As you see, you're the only one that shows up, but
I pulled in, I thought it was gonna be jam-packed, I'll be here down there, and then I'll walk in, I thought, well, I was wrong.
the good news is we get about 300-ish people that will view the meetings online. So that's good. On the subject of online, I encourage you to go to the POA's website, bellavistapoa.com. We have a tremendous amount of information about the assessment increase. There's a video of me talking about it. We have Q&As, and we talk about all those issues really in depth, so I encourage you to do that. But the long and the short of it, why the increase? I mean, when you go to the grocery store, you're paying a lot more than you were 3 years ago, and that's the exact same for the POA when you're looking at, you know, golf course fertilizer, supplies, everything. And what's really also hitting us is labor. It is one of the tightest labor markets that I've seen in my 35-year career. And so we're having to get much more aggressive with our line employees. We're not talking about the high end, we're talking about our line employees having to get much more aggressive pay-wise in order to keep and retain them. So those are the main things, is inflation and labor has gone up. But going back, the video online is at least 20-30 minutes long, so a lot more information than just this snippet. And like I said, the Q&A is very helpful, and a brochure is available online, so I encourage you to do that. Also, since
Basically
that's the main thing.
And
I
the
mean,
third one, I think, is also usage. You know, like you hear a lot of people talk about, well, there's more members, so you're getting more assessments, but that also means more abuse and use of our amenities. So it kind of offsets itself there too. Yeah.
And since we're talking about the assessment, for those viewers at home, if you have not yet voted, we encourage you to do so. As of just a few minutes ago, we're at 32.4% of the vote with 26 days left. So I'm, knock on wood, optimistic that we're gonna make quorum.
We'll gain it on it.
I won't be, I'll be nervous until we hit the 5-0 number, but I'm optimistic at this point.
Okay, thank you. And thanks for coming, absolutely, thank you. Next is Rules and Reg, Policy 5.03.
Sure. If you haven't already done so, the Rules and Regulations Committee meeting is available on the POA's website, and the committee goes into much more detail. So if the board tonight doesn't necessarily discuss this, they may or may not discuss it that much. Typically, the more in-depth conversations occur at the Rules and Regulations Committee. What we're trying to do is just strengthen this this policy, which is 5.03, and one of the main areas is every year we have a number of events that, while in most cases they're predominantly members that attend these events, but in some cases it includes non-members, and we just want to make sure that we create a more robust structure to that. And so on the bottom right, you can see the proposed changes and proposed events under consideration for approval by the board or a joint advisory committee must first get discussed at an open meeting to the members, a meeting open to the members with no vote taken until the following month's meeting. The delay in taking a vote until the following month's meeting will provide members with sufficient time to voice their opinion regarding the proposed event. So the way we've been doing it for several years is that the committees take up these types of events in January, but if someone doesn't know that, an event that maybe they support or maybe they have an issue with is already approved and they weren't aware of it. So this gives them a month to respond and to attend the meeting in February and say, hey, I like this or I don't like this. So it just gives them a little bit more time. And since we're talking about the winter, in most cases, these events don't take place until May, June, July. So there's more than enough time. We're not costing any time. Association joint advisory committees are encouraged to consider all events for each year in January, and we just talked about that. That was practice or custom, and now we're actually putting this into code or policy. Association joint advisory committees are encouraged to primarily consider events which benefit charities, youth, and events that give back to the community. Once again, that's been tradition, but now we're putting it into policy. The examples that I give are with regards to youth is you have the fishing derby that we have at Metfield. That is open to non-members, and the reason why it's open to non-member is because we get the fish for free from the state, and it must be open to the public. But in reality, the majority of people that show up are members. Another a charitable event is the Cancer Challenge, where we have that at the Skeeton Trap, and so those would be good examples of events that have been approved previously. Participant guests are not required to have a guest pass, but may have to pay current guest rates as applicable. And then the board retains the authority to override any decision made by a joint advisory committee. So I don't think that, hopefully this never gets employed, but if a joint advisory committee were to step out of bounds, the board always retains the right to override their decision. Actually, this is probably covered in other policies, but to have it here is not a bad idea. On top of that, in this section, we just try to add a little bit more clarity to the term or terminology regarding accompanied guests. In some situations, sponsored guests may be accompanied by, must be accompanied by a member to enjoy association amenities without requiring a payment of guest fees. For these situations, a guest is accompanied by a member so long as the guest is within reasonable proximity of the member. We wanted to get away from the term maintaining visual and auditory contact. We thought that was a little over the top. So a good example of this would be maybe you're walking at the Branchwood Park, the trail, the Branchwood Trail. Hey, you got to be within a reasonable distance of a family member. Those are recommended changes. Always want to remind everybody that it requires 2 votes of the board. So it actually has to go through the Rules and Regulations Committee, the work session, regular meeting, work session again, regular meeting, and all those have to have votes for it to get approved. Any questions?
All right, we need a motion for policy.
I make a motion to approve the suggested changes to policy 5.03, guest policies. This is the first reading of 2 required readings.
Thank you, Deborah. Jeff, thank you. Any further conversation on this one?
I know I've mentioned this before, but I really, really appreciate the 30-day notice for our members. It really gives them an opportunity to provide us with some feedback and things that we may not be aware of.
Agreed. Anything else? Go to a vote. All in favor? All opposed? I'm sorry? Abstain? Okay.
The next item, I'm sorry, this is an addition.
Addition, yeah.
Brought it to the attention of the board just yesterday, is that we have a water line that is leaking and getting ready to give way. It's in a just a challenging area with a creek bed off of Stony Kirk near the boat ramp. So if anybody's been down that area, you know how much washout we get down there. The water pipeline is encased in concrete, but the drainage pipes, very large drainage pipes, are by and large pointed directly at the water pipe. And it's eroded and it's going to collapse. So the water department has provided us with an estimate. It will be an emergency capital project that will come out of the water department budget. The estimate right now is $133,400. In the email that I sent to the board yesterday, I was hoping that we would have updated estimate by today's meeting. We don't have that just yet. I checked with Charlie just before the start of this meeting. We don't have anything new. So really, the board has the option at this point. I've notified the board. Yes, so that's always important. So you could vote on the project tonight, approving it for the $133,400, knowing that it's a loose estimate. So you could vote on it knowing that chances are it's either going to come out at the 103 or less. Charlie's built in a 15% contingency, or we could wait until next month. Knowing that the project will be worked on, we're going to do the project and we got to move quickly. And at that point, we will have more solid numbers, but we would be approving it after the fact. But that happens at times when you have emergency projects. So really, it's up to the board how you want to do it. My obligation to the board is to let you know of an emergency project as soon as possible, which has occurred.
Go ahead, David.
I would think probably I would favor, at this point, I would favor deferring and not voting tonight because we don't have a number. And we know the project has to be done. So we're aware of it and we just go ahead and go. But approve it after the fact like happens frequently with emergency projects.
Question to that regard is it's no difference to you or Charlie whether we do it tonight or do it later. Should that number not be accurate and we'd have to have a second vote to approve any additional funding, correct? Should it
o-
run over?
Only if it came over. If
Right.
it's under, there is no provision, that you
Right.
don't have to take a second vote. And it's not gonna delay anything, so we are indifferent. It's really up to the choice of the board.
I mean, we're gonna have to approve it. I'm fine with waiting until we get the final number and making the approval then, but I'd also be fine.
I'd prefer to, because it's such a large amount, I'd prefer for you to proceed on with the board's approval to do the work. And then if the dollar amounts are different, we can worry about that later. But it's a large enough amount that after the fact emergency, if we don't have on record that we're okay with it, I'd prefer to be okay with it up front personally.
And same here, it needs to be done. Why put it off?
I'm totally fine with that, and we'll, when we know the final number, we'll report back one way or the other, either to get another vote, or to have a vote, or to report back and let you know how it came out. Fine either way.
I would agree with doing it tonight, unless there's something that I'm just not understanding.
No, you're,
I'll move to approve the emergency water main repair for the total of $133,400 estimated.
I second.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you, JB. Any further conversation? No? All in favor of the capital project, emergency capital project funds? All opposed? You're abstaining? 8-0. Okay. Go fix
Thank
the
you.
water line. Sounds like fun.
and that's all I had.
That's it. Anybody have anything else before we go on to the announcements? No? All right, let's jump in. Recreation JAC meeting is next meeting is August 11th at 4 p.m. All these are in the boardroom and live stream unless otherwise noted. Lakes JAC is Wednesday, August 13th at 2. Miss Ruth's Golf Committee meeting, next one is August 13th at 4. Rules and Reg Committee meeting is Thursday, August 14th at 1:30. The next Board Directors GM, which is a closed meeting, is August 14th at 2:30. Special meeting of the membership and the assessment results is August 19th at 6. The next Board of Directors work session is August 21st at 9. And the next regular session is August 28th at 6 p.m. And if there's nothing else, we're adjourned.